Hey, Honors Geometry. Today we're going to take a look at 9-3. This is a 9-3. Rotations around the origin and just kind of rotations in general. So we've got a couple of different ways we can rotate. We're going to be rotating around that point there, 0, 0. And so we could rotate clockwise, which is going, I guess, to the right, rotating around to the right, or counterclockwise, which is actually kind of the standard direction, since we label this as like quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So we rotate actually standard in a counterclockwise direction. So if a direction is not given, it just says rotate at 90 degrees, you go counterclockwise. All right, so let's start with some clockwise rotations. When the point is here, like 3, 3, so that, I guess actually let's do these in order. A is 3, 11. So 3 right, 11 up, that point right there. If we're going to rotate that clockwise, we're going to bring it down in this this direction. So instead of being 3 right, 11 up, we're going to be 3 down, 11 to the right. And so that point, if this is A, this would be A at with 90 degrees. I'll label it that way. And so yeah, that would be the rotation. So if we're going 3 right, 11 up, now we're going 3 down, 11 right. And so you just you can rotate your paper if you want. You actually rotate your paper counterclockwise and see it in the same direction, 3 right, 11 up. And we can do that again for another 90 degrees, which would take us to 180. So it'd be like 3 right, 11 up as we look at it this way, upside down. And so that would be A at 180 degrees, so 180. I have to label that down there. But you could also just kind of count it out. If it's 3 right, 11 up, then yeah, 3 left, 11 down. So, and then we could rotate that one more time. So if we add a 90 more, we get to 270 degrees. So if we rotate this way, it's 3 right, 11 up. Get that in the right spot. And that coordinate there would be A having been rotated 270 degrees. The last thing we can do is we can rotate 90 more degrees and we'll get back to a 360 degree rotation. So this is both A and A at a 360 degree rotation. So we can think about where that coordinate went in this process. So first we started at 311. After we were at 90 degrees, that coordinate went down to 11, -3, 11, comma, get that sign right, 11 to the right, -3 down. Always go X then Y. And then after 180 degrees, we were -3 to the left and -11 down. And after 270 degrees, we were 11 left, so -11 up 3. And after we go 360, we're back to the exact same point, 3, 11. So you can kind of see the pattern, what we did here. We swapped and then we negated, we'll write this pattern down here, but we swapped and then negated the y value, or sorry, from here to here, we swapped and negated the one on the right, so negated the y value there, and then we swap again, to go 90 more degrees, we swapped these two and then made the right one negative, right? The y coordinate, the opposite of what, that x coordinate was. We swapped again and did the opposite sign of that x coordinate, and we swapped again and did the opposite sign of that x coordinate. So each time we're doing a 90 degree rotation, we get the same. But by the time we get back to 360, for instance, we notice we've gone to the exact same coordinates again, whereas at 180 degrees, we just basically made them both negative. So it's always each 90 is swap and make the y coordinate negative. So let's do that with a couple of other points. So the other point we have is 3, 3. This one's actually, I think, a bit easier. So we're 3 right, 3 up. Then here we're 3 down, 3 right. Then we would be 3 left, 3 down. If I don't know if you're gonna go in that same pattern, and 3 up, 3 left, or whatever way you want to think about getting to that. So this coordinate is B. This is B rotated 90 degrees. This is B rotated 180 degrees, and then this is B rotated 270 degrees, and then we can kind of come back to here. Now this is B, it's also B rotated 360 degrees. So all the different rotations around there. Writing those coordinates out, we went from 3, 3 to 3, -3 to -3, -3 for our 180-degree rotation, to -3, +3 for that coordinate, back to 3, 3. And each time we're kind of swapping and making that y coordinate the opposite sign. The last point we have here is C at 12, 3. And so we went 12 right, 3 up. So we could rotate our page and go 12 right, 3 up, and get where C would be after we rotate it 180 degrees. So that would be C1, sorry, I misspoke, C90 with a 90-degree rotation. And then, so if we're there, we could rotate another 90 degrees to get 180. So it would be 12 right and 3 up from there. But really what we've done, so we get to this point right there, really what we've done is we've actually gone 12 left and 3 down to get that point. And so that would be C at 180. We could do the same thing here. It would be 12 up, 3 left. Hopefully you can start to kind of just see where we're going to end up with these once we start rotating. And so that would be C at 270. And then, of course, we get back to here, C 360 for our full rotation. So those coordinates, that pattern we went through was 12 right, 3 up. And then for this point, we went 3 right, 12 down. All right, we swapped those and made the y1 negative. Then we went over here, we were 12 left, so -12, and then -3. And if we like swap those, it would be -3, and then we change the sign of this to +12, -3, 12. That's where we ended up. And then full rotation swap again, we're back to 12, 3, where we started. So each time you can kind of flip those. So like if we're going from x, y, if x and y are our coordinates to begin with, no matter where they are, you can like swap them. And so it becomes y -x, that rotation, that where you like flip them and then do the negative of, what was on the left, as you move to the right, that becomes the y coordinate. So if we were at, again, if x is 3, we end up at, and then y is 11, we end up at 11 -3 after we do that 90-degree rotation. And we can go through each of those flips. So then we would be at -x, -y, is the pattern we have here for our 180-degree rotation. And if x started as negative, that would be fine. You just, the negatives cancel. And then we swap one more time. And so we have -y, +x. And then finally we flip and we have +x, +y. And those would be all of our rotations. So we'll do something similar over here. Only I want to kind of do the entire like those are the just individually points kind of going around. Let's do kind of this entire image all at once. So I'm actually going to combine this all together. And we can still use the same vertices, but we're going to be using this entire image. And we're going to rotate this thing. And we're going to go the opposite direction this time. We're going to go counterclockwise. So I'm actually going to rotate my paper clockwise as we get this. Our points are 4, 11. So this point is A. And then we've got 11, 9. So 11 up 9. So that's point B. And then 11, 2. This is point C. And then 3, 2, 3 right, 2 up is point D. And so what we can do is we can kind of copy that image and copy those points as we rotate counterclockwise this time. So first we'll go 90 degrees. And so as we rotate, I could really just kind of think about this picture, what I see here, and then try and redraw it up here in this quadrant looking in this direction. So we can go point by point. So D is 3 right, 2 up. So we can go, from here, 3 right, 2 up after I rotate. And so that's, we can think about what's changed with our points there. So from if I'm starting with D, 3 right, 2 up, now that point is 2 left. So -2, 3. And so you might see what's happening here is we're kind of going with a similar, we're flipping the coordinates, but this time we're doing negative of the x value. And so that's where we'll end up with D, but we can do the same thing for A. So like A is 4 right, 11 up, so I can go here, 4 right, 11 up, and that would put us like there. After we've rotated 90 degrees this way, and sometimes this, these rotations that are clockwise, we'll actually write it as like a negative rotation if you are rotating clockwise to the right. Here, usually our left is kind of our default, so this is our standard 90-degree rotation. C is 11 right, 2 up, so go 11 right, 2 up to get C. Right, so this is where D ended up, this is where C ended up, this was where A ended up, and then B is 11 right, 9 up. So if we go like here, if we turn our paper, 11 right, 9 up, looks like maybe there, and hopefully got it in the right spot, and that's where B would end up, and then we can kind of draw that shape in. And hopefully I've got this in the right spot. It should look like the same figure, just rotated ultimately 90 degrees counterclockwise around the origin. So we end up from there to there. And so let me fill in those points. And so the, oh, not that one, sorry. I wanted to go all the 90 degrees counterclockwise. So D ended up there. Like we could do A next, which was 4, 11. So it was 4, 11. But where it ended up was negative 11, 4. Negative 11, 4. And then we'll, the next point we could go to, like B, for instance, is at 11, 9. So 11, 9 became negative 9, 11. And C was at 11, 2. Now it's at negative 2, 11. So what we did is we swapped the coordinates. We swapped x and y. So this is y and this is x. And then we made the first one negative. We kind of negated the left. And that would be rotating counterclockwise. And so that's where that point ends up. So I'm going to kind of jump through and see if you can do these on your own as well, kind of following that same pattern. I'm going to jump through and show you where these next two end up. All right, so what you see here after we rotate 180 degrees is it actually ends up being kind of the exact same thing as if we rotated 180 degrees counterclockwise or clockwise. So I came another 90 degrees this way, but it's the exact same thing as you rotated this way. In fact, the pattern that we notice about our points as we continue to rotate and you know, from here, you know, go one more again and like, you know, 3 right to up. But the pattern that emerges at 180 counterclockwise, you basically do negative x and negative y, which is the exact same thing as we saw over here with that 180 degree rotation. All right, and then one more. All right, so after this 270 degree rotation, you know, we basically took where we were here, this image, and then kind of rotated around and created it one more time there. So that's our 270 degree rotation, and we followed the same pattern where we ended up swapping kind of the previous two, swap them, and swap the x and y, and then negate the x coordinate. So like swapped a negative 11 and negative 4, but then changed the sign of the first one. So if you're rotating 90 degrees over here, you swap and change the sign of the second one. Here we're swapping and changing the sign of the first one. Ultimately from there, we also should notice that by rotating 270 degrees this way, at this point I want to make sure that that's the same thing as rotating 90 degrees clockwise. So y negative x, y negative x. And in fact, right up here, rotating 90 degrees counterclockwise is the same thing as rotating 270 degrees clockwise. And so 270 degrees clockwise, negative yx, gives us that same pattern. Finally, we can fill in this last rotation, 360 degrees. Is going to get us back to this same point here. And so all those coordinates will be the same. It's going to be the same x and y coordinates. So these would be 4, 11, 11, 9, 11, 2, 11, 2, and 3, 2 for each of those coordinates after we go that full 360 rotation, rotating this way. And it's the exact same as if you rotated 360 in the clockwise direction.